Today we're modelling a head. I thought we'd move on to 3D, so we're going to have some fun with some clay modelling a basic human head in as quickly as I can, maybe in real time. Maybe the time lapse might be a bit fast for this, but I'll give it a go, see how we get on. So today what I thought we'd do is we'd make a clay head. So not a bad idea, is just get a bit of wood and bash a nail in it, so you've got a stand, a way of holding it easily. It could be a bigger bit of wood than this is a bit small, never mind. And then get a lump of clay, I don't know, about this big, and stick it onto there so that you've got a lump of clay that's kind of staying where you want it. And then you just got to go for it. I wouldn't worry too much. I'm going to try and film this in real time, so about, I don't know, 15 minutes to get the basic shape sorted. Obviously you could spend a lot longer working on the surface in detail, and if you're making a character for a film or a game or something like that, something I teach at college, then obviously you might spend many hours working on the surface. But to get the basic shape of a human head, let's start with this. So I would just grab the clay and I would just basically build up a shape like this, a bit of a head look, a head on shoulders. Okay, so it's looking pretty basic at the moment, that's fine, and we're just beginning to get a sense of you know, the head shape on shoulders there. So head and shoulders. The next thing I do is decide where the front is going to be. So maybe the front is going to be towards us. So I do this maybe, so that it's, you know, thinner, as it were, from the front than from the sides. I'm trying to film this without knocking the little stand whilst I do it, of course, as well. So you've now got maybe a side, shoulders, and a head. So then it's a case of maybe using your fingers like this to just smear. This is normal modelling clay. Of course, you could do the same with plasticine or plastiline or wed clay or monster clay or super sculpey or any number of other things. It's the principle that we're talking about here. So have some clay nearby, so maybe a bit of spare clay like that. You can grab bits off and maybe press on like this, look, so that you can smear it with your thumb or your fingers. So modelling clay you can get from any good art supplier. You know, obviously it's a type of mud really, so it's a little bit sticky, this clay here. I prefer the kind of grey clay, but I can't get to my college workshop obviously because I'm on isolation, as we all are at the moment. So trying to get a sense of you know, a bit of a neck there. Now the neck isn't much thinner really than the head. If you look at somebody's head from the front, the neck doesn't go in at the sides, and a common mistake is that the neck goes really in here. It doesn't much, it's pretty straight. So do that to begin with, get it a bit flat from the sides, and then you're beginning to think this is going to be the front, this is going to be the chest. So I'm going to add a little bit on there to give me a chin. So a little bit there, look, to give me a bit of a chin. So I get a sense of the chin coming over the top of the chest. I know I'm going fast, and you can obviously slow this down, or you can replay it, or you can pause it as you go along, or turn off my voice, whatever you want to do. So you can see there's a side of a head, the back of the skull, the face, chin, and then beginnings of the neck. The neck's a bit big at the moment, so we're going to push the neck in a little bit, look. Just push it in with your finger, you don't have to take lots away. Just push it in and hold it in your hands and look at it. I would suggest hold it like this, quite nice. Get a sense of the, you know, it in your hand. It means you can move it around and have a good look at it. You could put it on a turntable. You could, you know, have it on an armature in front of you and keep it still. But I prefer to hold it like this, just to get going anyway. So now we're beginning to build a chin. What's quite good now is to get some eyes in here. As soon as you get some eyes in here, it becomes a bit of a character. So the way I do eyes is I get my finger and I look at my head and I go halfway up the head. So halfway up the head, and not quite to the middle, obviously, just to one side. I use my thumb to push in with the other finger, like that. And then I'm going to use my other finger again and use my other thumb to push in. So left and right, and then squash the head again like that. So now what I'm doing is I've got some eyes in the middle of the head. Okay, so I'm beginning to get a sense of those eye sockets. And of course, inside a human head, there's a skull. So to begin with, it does look a little bit like a skull. And whenever you're first making a head like this, often it looks a bit like, you know, kind of a hitman or bouncer. It's always a bit blunt and normally a bit male. Maybe that's just me, but that's kind of a common starting point. And then you have to, you know, be more refined and careful as you build up a particular character, or change sex so that it becomes a woman. You just need to take off a bit of the weight and a bit of the heft of your mark making, so it's a bit less masculine. So we've now got sockets for the eyes, and we've got head. It clearly has a front and a back. The back of the head, the skull here, sticks out over the back of the trapezius, over the back of the head here. So make sure that your neck goes in a little bit there at the back. And you've got then the shape of the skull here, look, comes out. It's not a match, is it? It's not a ball on a stick, lolly. It's a skull. So the spine comes up the back here and goes into the base of the skull towards the back here. And at the front, of course, you've got the trachea and the esophagus and other elements within your neck. But what we're trying to do is get a sense of that shape. Okay. Now it's a little bit sticky, as I say, so you might want to use a tool to help you. So this is a very simple little clay tool, clay spatula tool. You can buy these for £1 or so from any shop, really. This is just one from that I would use at college. And then I'm just using it to give it a bit of a smoother surface, take away lumps that I don't like the look of. Now these shoulders, straight away, these shoulders are a bit fat. Shoulders aren't square. You couldn't put a teapot on your shoulder and it not fall over. So you need to squeeze them a little bit just to get a shape of the shoulder a little bit better. You can add a bit of clay here if you want to kind of suggest the rotator cuff of the shoulder, the head of the shoulder. We tend to come forward slightly. So you can see they come forward slightly. They're not straight, they come ever so slightly forwards. The chest drops down like that, so I'm going to add another one over there to give me the two shoulders. You don't want the shoulders to look widely different, otherwise it looks loppy, which isn't good. You want it to look reasonably symmetrical. Once you've got that, another good thing to do is to just put your finger in maybe about there. Just give yourself a bit of a dip. And that corresponds to the sternal notch at the top of the sternum. You've got a dip, so you've got the sternum bone at the chest, and you've got a dip at the top, and then you've got the clavicles that run here and here from the sternal notch up to the top of your shoulders. So just suggesting those can help make it feel anatomically, correct. You've also got these big muscles that run down the side of the neck from below the ear and down to the sternal notch. And these are called the sternocleidomastoid muscles, and they help with the shape of the neck. So just having a suggestion of them just coming up there from the sternal notch up to behind the ear is no bad thing, because it's as your neck is formed, so it feels right, it looks right. So you've got that dip beneath the jaw, you've got that muscle coming up here, like that, and it comes down to the sternal notch, down there, and the clavicle going over there. Okay, and these are just little suggestions, like little sketchy marks on a drawing, and it's all helping to build up what we recognise as a human head. Now, as I say, this is very sticky clay today, but if I let it dry for maybe an hour and come back to it, it would be no bad thing. So the next thing I would do is put ears in. People often neglect ears, and because they're not kind of cool, are they? But I think it's really worth putting the ears on, because the ears really help. So I'd make 2 balls of clay like this. So they're like, big peas. Again, taking a bit off that one, you want them to be, comparably the same shape, same size. Then what I'd do is I'd squeeze it slightly, like that, stick it on, squeeze it slightly on one side, so you're pinching one side of it, and then stick that on, like that. Now you don't want the ears to be different heights, so you look at them from the front, and you want to stick them at the same level as the eye sockets. So between the eyebrow and the nose, really, and you want to look at them from above and get a sense of whether they're, in the same place on either side. So from above, I'm looking and trying to decide whether my ears are in pretty much the same place. And then I would smear the front edge in like that. Okay, so you've just got a suggestion again of the ears. Again, all this detail can be refined as you go on, and how much time you put into it, of course. Then maybe something for the nose. So maybe make a piece of clay like that, and maybe just make a little wedge out of it. Look, just a little wedge, not too big. stick it on. Now the nose, traditionally, between the eyes. So let's just get that on there, smear that into there. You could put a little bit of a dent in there to maybe suggest the top of the nose, break of the nose, and the brow. There we go. And then I might even though the clay is a bit sticky, I might put a bit of clay, just not as much as that, a bit of clay on either side of the nose to suggest the nostrils so it doesn't look too flat and square. Okay, and then you could always use something like this to just keep the end of your tool nice and clean there, just to suggest where those nostrils are going to go. Okay, so now we've got a rather blunt nose. And again, it's lovely soft clay, so you can just smear it and tidy it up. Nice tool to work the surface. It's a piece of hacksaw blade because it's got a slight tread on it, and that can look rather nice. But even with a tool like this, these smear marks can become part of the work. It depends whether you're looking for a kind of visibly sculpted surface, a surface that enjoys the marks, or whether you're looking for a surface that's clean or like skin. So you might be using small tools or even bits of fruit to leave impressions like skin. It depends again what the effect you're looking for is and kind of what your character design wants to be like, what you want it to be like. Up to you. So eyes. Now there's no one way to do any of these things, but there's no one way to do eyes, but not a bad way to do eyes would be to again make two P's like this and put them into the sockets that you made with your fingers. So they're a bit big, so I'm just taking them out slightly. Now you're going to have to model these in a minute anyway, but the eyes, the eyes should sit beneath the socket that you've made. So if I put that eye there, it shouldn't really touch my finger when I do that. Your own eye sits within your socket and is protected by your eyebrow and the lower part of the eye socket. So it sits beneath that protection. And then you might want to get a piece of clay like this, and you might squash it like this. And you might then, take the edge off maybe, like that. Then you might use that on the top like this and blend it in like that. So it's going over your eye. What you're essentially doing is making an eyelid. You might have to do this several times to get a good shape, because actually most of the eye is covered, isn't it? It looks a bit sneaky. Might have to work that a bit, I think. So you just need to take a little bit more of that off, I think. Just a bit off. And there is a fold in the eyelid there where it goes over the eye. I'm going to blend that in a bit there and take that out there. And all the time you're making modifications and changes. And you can maybe suggest where the eye is going to be there. Keep a dip in the corner of the eye there. Maybe a bit more shadow in there, in the corner. And open up a little bit there. So you're just by kind of little increments improving all the time. So you're beginning to model an eye now in the head. Now there are other ways to make an eye. What you might do if you're making models is you might use something like this. This is one of the little balls that you might use when you're making pies to hold down the pastry. And it's quite useful to use those because you can put those in, and unlike the clay eye, which of course can be damaged by your tools, an eye like this, an eye that's made out of ceramic, in this case a ceramic bead, doesn't stick to the clay. So you can squash a bit of clay like I'm doing here, look, and you can put it over the ceramic bead like this. Ooh. And then blend it in. So push it lightly over the ceramic bead like that, and then maybe use your fingernail to give yourself a bit of a brow like that, and then blend in again You've got the cheekbone, and then you can use a clay knife or any sort of spiky tool really to retrieve the eyeball like this. So you just cut away the clay. And then, oh, you basically take away the bit you don't want. Got to try and be careful not to muck up the eggs too much. Take a little bit out of there. So you've then got an eye that's like that, so you can see the eyeball within. And then you've got a modelled eye there. But you can, you can experiment and play with what you like, what you favour. It looks a bit strange with two different types of eyes. In terms of a mouth, I mean, what you've got to do is you've got to keep a little bit of a bulge over there, because the mouth, obviously this part of the jaw curves around your teeth. So it's slightly rounded like that. And then you might have, going down to a chin. You might make the chin a little bit more pronounced. Maybe just give it a little bit more clarity to that chin, although not too much, so it doesn't become, an ABC warrior or something. Keep it kind of a bit more shaped. Again, not too shaped. The evening light's making it look a bit sharp. And then what I might do is I might use my knife to open up a bit of a mouth, just to give myself a little bit of taking off the front edge of that so it's not too proud at the moment. Just re-win back that chin slightly. Hello. When you're making a head like this, often you think about who this person might be, this person you're making. I often find myself making kind of voices for them. Hello. That's up to you. Right. And then I would make, one of the ways to make lips, for instance, is to literally make a little sausage like that. As my friend Jim was saying the other day on his Aardman tutorial, little sausages and carrots form a big part of modelling. So make a little sausage, stick it on there like that. I might make a slightly shorter, fatter sausage for the bottom lip, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend those in slightly, just so that they're becoming lips. I might use this tool for the top bit, carefully leaning over this camera, and just to smear that there. I might turn it over so I can hold it at a different angle, and then I might smear the top of that lip, and then like that. And I might use something else. Have we got anything else? Ideally I want something rounded, just to flatten the top of that lip there. So we're beginning to make lips now. The lips look slightly protruding, so I just need to work them a bit. Don't lose my ear. Now you should have a jawline coming down here, remember? That's the jawline that follows down beneath the side of the face, that kind of joins up with where the ear joins the side of the head. So just a suggestion of that is no bad thing. And then, against two strange eyes, I should commit to one or the other really, beads or clay. And then I might put a bit of a turn on the head. One of the things people often do is have very straight heads, very straight. And actually it's quite good to just put a bit of a twist on the head, so it feels a bit more human, a bit less straight. You can see as I do that, the neck bulges slightly, which is actually what happens as that muscle pulls to that side. So keeping that sternal notch. Now, if I was going to take this head further today, what I'd do now is I'd let it dry for an hour and then come back and then work into the surface, because at the moment it's very, very wet. So it's just a bit sticky. I need to take that stickiness off it. So this clavicle travels up and goes with a little bit of a curve at the top. It goes up there and then it kind of comes in there to the sternum. Again, the sternum notch there. And that clavicle travels up here. But we can do that later. Okay, but there's, what's that, 19 minutes? That'll have to do for the moment. So just have a go, have a fun go trying to make human heads, trying to get a sense of that shape. Try and remember the things I've said, might be useful. Trapeze is the back. Watch the muscles come into the side of the shoulder, curve on that shoulder. He's a funny looking chap. Hello. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Have fun.